Hello and welcome to In the Studio, episode 83. Today I want to talk a little bit about the importance of having a great contrast between your breakdowns and the main part of your track, where everything comes back in, you know, the payoff, the drop, whatever it is that you want to call it. Um, I'm going to brush over a few of the more common techniques for creating a great contrast, but I'm going to focus on one particular technique that I think is a little bit less talked about and utilized. So maybe it's something that you would like to try out in your tracks. So we're going to get right to it. I'm going to show you a snip of the track here that we'll be working with, and then I'll brush over the more common, techniques, and then I'll talk about the one that I want to focus on here. So this project here is a track that I've just finished, but this particular project that I have open is a kind of an earlier stage in the production process before I mixed it down. So it's just the arrangement, all the automation, and then some just basic mixing. So let's have a go. Here we go. Okay, so before we get into the focus technique, I just want to brush over some of the more, common ways to create a great contrast between, the two parts of your track, the breakdown and the drop. So the first one is simple. It's just a simple, change in volume. You can simply just put a volume automation curve on during the breakdown, just slowly fade it down over a couple dB, and then when everything kicks back in, pop it up a couple dB. And I did a video on that just not too long ago. If you want to go check it out, I'll put it up in the card. The second one is just a change in frequencies. So take away the low frequencies. I like to take away some of the high frequencies as well, just so you're kind of more mid-focused, and then that's just going to make that impact work better, because of that contrast. And I, that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure you already know that. The third one is just using effects, making things, delays moving around, lots of reverb to make, to wash things out, and then, come back in with a more dry signal. That's going to create great contrast. Just taking away elements during the breakdown, maybe you don't want to lose the groove completely, and you kind of want just a more uh, you don't want to like go to complete silence, or no drums. Whatever it is that you're doing, just taking away elements can have a really great effect. You don't always have to add things. I think in most cases taking away things is the way to go. So yeah, you can do that as well. So those are just a few ways to create contrast. But the way or the way the bleh, can't talk. The technique that I want to focus on here today is using a stereo image, playing with the stereo image a little bit. So what I did here in this project, we're going to focus on this sound here. So I'm doing two of the techniques here. I'm actually playing a little bit with the frequencies. I'm dropping it back down to more of a filtered low pass sound, and then pulling and bringing up the letting more top frequencies through as the breakdown builds. But I'm also doing something pretty interesting, I think, that I like to do, and that's spreading a sound out using a stereo image plugin. In this case, I didn't need to use a stereo image plugin because the way I made this sound was, so that's originally that sound is a snare. It's a 16th snare roll, but I've run it through this convolution reverb, which is the Fruity Convolver, and I've turned the dry signal all the way down, so we're not hearing the snare anymore. All we're hearing is this it's a Vox loop. I use this Vox loop to reverberate that snare roll. And I did a video on this technique just recently. I think it's a great little trick. So I'm going to put that up in the card as well. I think you'll like that video if you haven't checked it out. Anyways, so that's how I made the sound. But on this particular plugin, Fruity Convolver, there's a stereo separation knob here where you can spread out the reverb signal. So that's what I've used to spread the signal out in this particular case. And you can hear it just it gets wider and wider and wider as the breakdown builds, and then when everything kicks back in, it's a more focused, more narrow signal or sound. I didn't go full mono because there is some stereo width there, but it definitely helps the tension in the build, so you can hear it getting wider. I'll just go to this section here so you don't have to listen to the whole thing. So I hope you can hear that, but it definitely, I feel like, helps just with you know, the overall just build of the breakdown. Um, so that's a technique I really like to use, and you can use it on one element like I've done here. You could use it on a few elements. You can have fun with it. And alternatively, if you don't, in this particular case, I had a nice stereo image parameter to play with, but I'm going to give a little bit of love to this Ozone Imager. It's by iZotope. I think this is the best free stereo image plugin that you can get, and I'll put that in the description below if you want to go scoop it. By iZotope. It's fantastic. So I mean, alternatively, you could just automate this parameter up and spread out whatever you're working with or want to give a little width to during the breakdown, and then drop it back down to full mono or back to normal. I just think it's a great little way to add a little extra build and tension, and I feel like it really does give that extra little layer of interest to my breakdown. So I thought that I would share that with you. I hope that you found it of value. So yeah, that's the video for today. Leave me a comment, leave me a question. I'd love to hear from you. Get involved with the channel here. And of course, I will see you very soon. So take care.